Rush Limbaugh was right all along. Conservative republicanism is the answer. Good. Good for Brian.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Culture Shock. Here to remind you that the state of Texas, mainly Dallas, I believe it's Dallas, is under ice right now. Why? Because their green energy has failed. Their windmills are frozen over. There's no solar now over there because, it's ice. But this doesn't stop AOC from mocking the state of Texas and by extension Ted Cruz, saying this wouldn't have happened if you had a Green New Deal, ignoring the fact that windmills are frozen over and there's no sun. I swear this woman is a nut. She is a nut, nuttier than the nuts themselves. How this woman is in office and has remained in office is beyond a miracle. Like, seriously, what? No, the reason why Texas is under ice is because all the subsidies that went towards green energy kind of made the state of Texas kind of neglect fossil fuels, because if it wasn't for that, the fossil fuels over there, gas, natural gas, and all that stuff will be helping Texas get the lights back on. But no, Green New Deal, because that's the end all be all from a woman who hasn't done literally anything since she's been in office. Just complain and cry and complain, and hasn't really done much. So no, AOC, Green New Deal would not be a valid solution in this scenario. I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not going to work. But that's not today's top story. As you all know, this week, a pioneer in American conservatism and American patriot himself, Rush Limbaugh, passed away after a long battle with cancer. Now, you might think that, oh, well, that's a sad thing. It is a sad thing. But the left just can't contain their enthusiasm. So let's get right on into it. So, before I go further, I just want to point out that I've never listened to Rush Limbaugh. I've heard of him. I've never really paid attention to any of his content, anything like that. The first time I've ever heard his name was on the episode of Family Guy, season 9, episode 2. Yeah, that's how much I watch Family Guy. I know each season by its episode. Yes, that just happened. Yes, that's the only time I've heard his name, and I was kind of taken aback because there's people out there named Rush. That's interesting. Rush Limbaugh. But yes, sadly, the pioneer of talk radio has passed away. He had, I think he had brain cancer or something like that, and he fought until the bitter end. Now, from what I've been seeing on Twitter, again, I've never listened to the man talk, okay? I know he was a conservative. He fought for Republican values and all this fun stuff, but I never listened to any of his stuff. So everyone who is coming at me saying that Rush Limbaugh is a horrible person because of this, Rush Limbaugh is a horrible person because of that, I generally don't know what you're talking about. I really don't know. So you're going to have to point out an instance in which he said something in context and let me read it. But here's the thing. These people don't give you that information, because I guarantee you that the people who are just saying the most nastiest stuff when this person should just be respected for just being a human being, just having the common decency and the human decency to just respect this person's death and just let it be. No, these people come out with knives saying that he was the most horrible person, yada, yada, yada. And when I asked to give me a specific example of what he said and when he said it and in what context it was used, these people can't give you an example. I think I've asked this question 4 or 5 times on Twitter to various people, and no one can give you an answer, because you know why? You know why these people don't understand what they're talking about? It's because they have never listened to Rush Limbaugh's show. Now, I've never in my entire adult life, and even my teenage and childhood life, have I ever disrespected the memory of somebody when they died. That is just a common courtesy across the board. You don't trash somebody or bash anybody when someone's dead or when someone's just died. That's not what you do. But the left, again, we've been told that the left, Democrats, they're the party of love and tolerance and unity. This is a time of unity. And they're just going at Rush Limbaugh with as many daggers as they can, and not even realizing that people who grew up with his show, people who were inspired and given moral lessons in the art of being an American, People are mourning. The family of Rush Limbaugh is mourning. And to be able to go on Twitter and see the left just spewing all this hatred and nonsense about a man that they didn't even know. They just heard it from someone else, who heard it from someone else, who heard it from someone else, that Rush Limbaugh said this in the context of this, but it's interpreted as he's a racist, sexist, bigot, whatever. Not okay. Not okay. Now, I remember when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. And I think that was the one time where pretty much everybody was in agreement that this was a tragedy. This was a loss. You know, she was an American hero for what she did as being a Supreme Court judge. Now, did I agree? Did I agree with everything that she did? No, I wasn't. I wasn't a fan of the laws she passed. I wasn't a fan of what she did. Looking back at it now, but I did not disgrace her when she died. A lot of conservatives and Republicans did not disgrace her when she died. Even Donald Trump, who was apparently, according to the left, the meanest, rudest, orangest man of all time, gave her a solemn farewell. But, you know, this is an equal here, you know? Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more. And everybody was giving their respects. We were paying tribute to this American person. I don't know what the proper name is. She was a judge, okay? A lot of people on the right didn't agree with what she did. That's fair. A lot of people on the left loved her, but we were, for a moment in time, in solidarity here. We were understanding that she was a great influence. She was, you know, the first, I think she was the first female Supreme Court judge, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't really know her life story, but even then, I don't know much about her, but I'm going to pay my respects to this person. Just like I don't know a lot about Rush Limbaugh, but I'm going to pay my respects to what he did and what he pioneered. I'm not going to sit here and just throw out insults and make this person look like the devil in flesh when that's not what he did. So again, a lot of people, if this happened to anybody else on the right, it would be the same thing. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Dan Kershaw, any of these guys, it would be the same thing from the right. So the right, the left, hey, guess what? Most of us on the right side of the aisle are not as heartless as most of the people on the left, as you so graciously saw. And it's been going on for 2 days on Twitter. And to this point, at the time of this recording at 6:24 p.m., February 18th, 2021, I have not gotten an answer of why so many people dislike Rush Limbaugh. Because they don't listen to a show. They never did. They never understood why so many people felt so influenced to understand the true value of American culture, Constitution, understanding what our government was for and what it was built for and what this country stands for, and why so many people who come from actual oppressed countries come here to live a better life and to understand. He expressed that to a lot of people who tune into his show. And people are just kind of upset that he was actually the forefront for cancel culture because he found a way to get his voice out, to give a voice to the people who were not being heard by the mainstream media of his time. And even today, without Rush Limbaugh, there wouldn't be Fox News. There wouldn't be the Daily Wire. There wouldn't even be independent YouTube channels like this one and so many others. Rush Limbaugh paved the way for people to understand that you do not have to be on TV. You do not have to be part of the mainstream media establishment in order to speak your mind and give an opinion about what you think about this or that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about politics. It could be about whatever you want, because he paved the way. If you can't get on TV and express your opinions, you can do it online. Back in the day, they had the radio. He got on the radio and did exactly that. And it's blown up. So without him, there wouldn't be this show. It wouldn't be thousands of other shows. But you think that the media sort of expressed that? Of course not. Of course not. You know why? Because the media and everybody who's on the left are just despicable people, to be honest. All right. So here's a story from the Daily Wire. Title, if you're listening on my podcast: Worst person to ever receive Presidential Medal of Freedom, Katie Hill mocks Rush Limbaugh. Blowback ensues, as it should. Now, a little history lesson. If you don't remember Katie Bell, she was a congresswoman from the 25th district in California. She actually got caught having an affair with a staffer, which is pretty illegal. So all this stuff came out. Her husband leaked photographs of her naked and all this stuff, and she was doing some pretty nasty stuff with her staffers. So yeah, just to kind of give you a history background history on this person. Um, the worst person to ever receive Presidential Medal of Freedom. Really? Really, Katie? All right. Let's get into this article from the Daily Wire by Hank Barron. After news broke out that the iconic conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh died after suffering from lung cancer, so it was lung cancer, former Democratic Congresswoman Katie Hill decided to weigh in. So is Rush Limbaugh going to go down in history as the worst person to ever receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, or is there someone else? Hill tweeted after reports that Limbaugh had passed away on Wednesday. I think she's just jealous that she didn't get a Medal of Freedom because she was definitely free with some of her staffers. Yeah. Okay, back to the story. The comic elicited blowback from conservatives who pointed out two recipients of the Presidential Medal of Freedom from former President Obama. Greg Price of the Daily Caller noted Ted Kennedy left a woman to drown in a lake and Obama gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. T. Beckett Adams of the Washington Examiner echoed the point. Well, considering Ted Kennedy, who killed a woman and got away with it, is a recipient, I say no. Podcast host Gary Callahan noted another Obama recipient. Let me guess. You think he's the worst than Bill Cosby? Yeah, I mean, I didn't know Bill Cosby got a Medal of Freedom, but yeah, that could probably be a bit damaging there. Trump announced that Limbaugh was the recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom at his last State of the Union address in February 2020. With Limbaugh in audience, Trump stated, almost every American family knows the pain when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious illness. Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer diagnosis. This is not good news, but what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country. And it was an applause. I remember watching it, and Rush Limbaugh's face was in shock. He could not believe that the president was addressing him and him alone. Very, very heartwarming. And Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I will now ask for the First Lady of the United States to present you with the medal, please. It was very heartwarming. Look at that smile. That dude was rocking that beard, that beard hair. I don't know what to call it. When Limbaugh returned to his radio show later that week, he offered some of the backstory about his appearance on the State of the Union. Now, I'm not going to go through all of it because there's a lot to get through in this show, but I will always, as always, link the description, link this in the description below so you guys can go read it. I really got to figure out how to say that right. But it doesn't stop there because, of course, the New York Times has had to go and jump in on the parade, just bashing Limbaugh. Again, these are major publications. Daily Wire, they're just pointing out stuff that Democrats do from day to day. And this is actually a pretty horrible thing that Katie Hill would do. I don't know why she would say that. She's trying to come back into the limelight after her 2019 scandal. I really don't understand why this is even a thing. But here we go. From the New York Times, Rush Limbaugh dies at 70. Turned talk radio into right-wing attack machine. It's just the context there seems a little bit aggressive. But to hear more audio stories from, never mind. Rush Limbaugh, the right-wing radio megastar whose slashing, divisive style of mockery and grievance reshaped American conservatism, denigrating Democrats, environmentalists, feminazis, his term, and other liberals while presaging, I don't know how to say that word. The rise of Donald J. Trump died on Wednesday at his home in Palm Beach, Florida. He was 70. His wife, Catherine, announced the death at the start of Mr. Limbaugh's radio show, a decades-long destination for a flock of more than 15 million listeners. I know that I am most certainly not the Limbaugh that you tune in to listen today, she said, before telling the audience that he had died that morning from complications of lung cancer. Mr. Limbaugh revealed a diagnosis of advanced lung cancer last February. A day later, Mr. Trump awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, during the State of the Union address. Since his emerging in the 1980s as one of the first broadcasters to take charge of national political call-in show, Mr. Limbaugh transformed the once sleepy spirit of talk radio into a relentless White Ring Attack Machine. His voice regular feature of daily life from homes to workplace and the commute in between for millions of devoted listeners. He became a singular figure in the American media, fomenting mistrust, grievances, and even hatred on the right for Americans who did not share their views. You see where this is going? You see where this is going? And he pushed baseless claims and toxic rumors long before Twitter and Reddit became havens for such disinformation. In politics, disinformation, there's that word again. In politics, he was not only an ally of Mr. Trump, but also a precursor combining media fame, white ring, scare tactics, and over the top showmanship to build an enormous fan base and mount attacks on truth and facts. See, this is the thing about truth and facts, is that they are extremely subjective in 2021. What you might think is a fact might not be a fact otherwise because people don't really look at the actual facts that would suggest. Case in point, people think that police are shooting black people. That's not true. Actually, there are more white people by FBI statistics that get shot more than actual black people. No. But then people will come back and say, well, the population between white Americans and black Americans is only 17% of black Americans versus, 70 something percent of white Americans. True, but then why do black people commit 50% of the crime, according to FBI statistics? This isn't me making this up. This is statistics from the FBI that would suggest that not only do black people not get shot more than white people by the police, but black people commit more of the crime, which, yes, in turn creates more call for officers in those particular areas. That's just a fact. That's a fact, statistical fact. So I really don't understand why people get truth and facts mixed up. Listen, it's okay to have different opinions. We all have different opinions about everything. If you're watching this, I probably won't agree with you on some points. That doesn't mean we can't go out and have a drink. Okay? Listen, this is what it is. All right? We're not all going to agree. Imagine if everyone was on the same wavelength of thinking. Everyone would just agreed about everything. We would live in a pretty boring society. I mean, our society is up in arms right now, and it needs to kind of go from here to here. Sure, but if we're all thinking the same, if we're all eating the same, we're all walking the same, and all speaking the same, we really don't have much individualism there. And I, for one, if you listen to the show since the beginning, I am one for individualism, and I like my individualism. Thank you very much. Continuing on with the story. His conspiracy theories. Now, conspiracy theories. That's what they're calling it now. His conspiracy theories range from bold-faced lies about Barack Obama's birthplace. The president has yet to have to prove that he is a citizen. Well, I mean, you guys were asking for Trump's tax returns for 4 years, and then you guys finally got him. I really don't see why Barack Obama can't prove where he was born. Standards, whereas those standards don't really see him. He said falsely in 2009 to claim that Mr. Obama's 2009 healthcare bill would empower death panels and euthanize elderly Americans. I'm pretty sure that's not what he said, and if he did say it, I'm pretty sure what the New York Times is quoting here is way out of context because you can see little quotation marks. That's the thing with people. They take everything out of context. We've seen it all the time with Donald Trump, and for the 4 years he was in office, everything the man said was taken out of context to make it sound worse than what it actually was. And half the stuff that he said wasn't even that bad, but when taken out of context, yeah, you can make someone look really bad. This is what they do here. In the wake of last year's election, he amplified Mr. Trump's groundless claims of voter fraud on President Biden Inauguration Day. During one of his final broadcasts, he insisted to listeners that the new administration had not legitimately won it. And I can partly agree with that, partly can't. Partly because there wasn't any evidence of voter fraud that was discovered. And I could hear you guys are already trying to click away from the video. But what I would argue is that those allegations of voter fraud were not properly and thoroughly investigated. That is my argument. Was there voter fraud? We will never know because no one decided to really look into these allegations and say, oh, we should probably investigate this a bit thoroughly because this is a pretty big deal. Okay? That's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Okay. In 1995, in the days after the Oklahoma City bombing, President Clinton denounced the promoters of paranoia on talk radio remarks that were rightly seen as aimed at Mr. Limbaugh. Here's another thing. And this is what we're seeing from Donald Trump and his impeachment and all this stuff, that people are being responsible for what they say is also directly related to what people do as a response to hearing those words. It's not how this works. Because if I remember correctly, Bernie Sanders says that the Republican health bill was to kill you. And as a result, some lunatic shot up a congressional baseball game and nearly killed 2 congressmen. Was Bernie Sanders responsible for that? No. If he is responsible for that, then you're going to have to argue that Trump is also responsible for the Capitol riots, which he wasn't. He said peacefully protest. He can't control what people do after hearing those words. Okay? So people, after the Oklahoma City bombing, to blame it on Rush Limbaugh and his words, listen, this is a very subtle attack on free speech that you're seeing right here in this article. Right here. It is not the responsibility of anybody saying anything that will result in an attack or bombing or shooting or whatever. If you're listening to this show and you decide you want to go rob a bank, that has nothing to do with me. I didn't tell you to go rob a bank. But if you do rob a bank, cut your boy some slack. I would really love that. That'd be great. Just kidding. Don't go rob a bank. Holy shit. I can't believe I have to say that now. Moving on with the article, we hear so many loud and angry voices in America today whose sole goal seems to be to try to keep some people as paranoid as possible and the rest of us all torn up and upset with each other, Mr. Clinton said. And I mean, that's basically true, because you have, one side of the aisle who wants to destroy America with all their policies and everything. You see it already. Biden's 52 executive orders, yet the media wants to report on him playing as Luigi in Mario Kart. That is a true story, and I will link that in the description for you guys. So excuse us if we are a bit paranoid that our individual freedoms and liberties are about to be overrun and violated by the government that is for the people, by the people, which doesn't seem like the concept anymore here. I'm going to go through this last paragraph and then wrap this up for you guys. Mr. Limbaugh's immense popularity had a profound effect on the country's media landscape. Dozens of right-wing talkers cropped up on local radio stations emulating his divisive commentary. There is no talk radio as we know it without Rush Limbaugh. It just doesn't exist. Sean Hannity, the conservative Fox News and talk show radio star, said in a tribute to Mr. Limbaugh on Wednesday, "I'd even make the argument in many ways there's no Fox News or even some of these other opinionated cable networks." And this is extremely true. This is true. Without Rush Limbaugh going out to the forefront and saying, I'm going to say whatever I want, how I want to say it, when I want to say it, and you guys can't stop me, the media has always had a monopoly, especially the left-wing media. You can see it right now dominating the airways, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Politico. All these are all left-wing media sources. There's very few conservative news sources out there that are trying to combat this. You have people on YouTube like Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles. You have them at the Daily Wire. You have Steven Crowder. You have people like me and various other YouTubers who are bringing you the news and giving you guys our opinion, because I feel as though that is a necessary thing for a functioning society to grow. Of course, if you disagree, let's talk about why you disagree. There's no reason to sit here and throw insults at people because you think they disagree, or spout this nonsense about people spouting conspiracy theories about such and such and being divisive. There's nothing divisive about having a different opinion. There's nothing divisive about it, but these people are going to make sure that you believe that Rush Limbaugh was a bad, evil, bad man, and that even though he's dead, the world is better off. And that's not right, and you know it. So going back to everything that we just looked at, it's fair to say that I don't think Rush Limbaugh was a bad person. In fact, like I said, I've never listened to one show, but people on Twitter who had taken the news to heart, they told me their story. They used to listen to this with their dads on the way to work, on the way to school. They used to listen to it with their moms after church. You know, it was a very uplifting and unifying thing that families would do together. So to paint this man as evil and hateful or whatever is unacceptable, and it shouldn't be tolerated. Of course, Twitter is not going to ban anybody who's sitting here saying that Rush Limbaugh deserves to burn in hell. But, you know, they'll probably ban you if you said the exact same thing about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Where's that standard? There's no standard here. And there should be a standard in which these media tycoons, these social media tycoons say, okay, across the board, if you do this, you're suspended or you're banned. But no, they like to pick and choose and pick on people like me, because even though I say I'm conservative, which I'm not, I'm more libertarian than conservative, they're going to come after you because you express a difference of opinion. You don't think the same. And that's what Rush Limbaugh did. He made it to where I'm going to tell you my opinion. I'm going to tell you what it means and how I feel. And it's up to you whether or not you agree or you don't. If you agree and you disagree, hey, buddy, we can still go grab a drink. And this political civil discourse of people just not accepting an opposing opinion and not understanding that we all don't think the same. We all have different values and different pursuits in life that is going to change the way we look at things. That seems pretty fair to me. That seems pretty fair to you. And I think everyone should take into account that entire philosophy. We should all be different. We shouldn't lump ourselves up in a group. We shouldn't let other people lump ourselves up in a group. We should identify the way we want to identify as an individual, as advantage that we have being Americans, to where we have the ability to identify as individuals, because some countries don't have that luxury. All right, guys, that's it for this show. Make sure you do like and subscribe. Go check out my manga on Webtoons, Ultima, The Legend Untold. And in the likely event I do get canceled, you guys can go check out my website, heroicstudiosmedia.com. I'm going to be posting a lot of my future videos, my 3D printing stuff, my comics, everything that I do, as well as future projects on the website. So you can find me there. Real easy, free access for everybody. Go check it out. Enjoy yourself. And my next 3D printing video should be out sometime this weekend. I will be doing a comparison video between my Anet A8 plus 3D printer versus my Artillery Sidewinder X1. So be on the lookout for that. I hope you guys watched my last video with my Iron Man helmet. I went over all the do's and don'ts and what I did and what I can do better, giving you guys a complete overview of my helmet. But that's it for today. If you guys like, follow me on Twitter, Parler, Instagram. I have a Discord server, as well as a Minds and some other stuff. I'll link all that in the description below. You guys enjoy your night, and I will see you guys next time on another episode of Culture Shock, or on my next 3D printing video. Who knows? I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.